Listen, sorry to interrupt, but it really is important for us. If you can just hit the like and subscribe button, that allows us to bring you the very best financial intelligence and the best guests on the planet. Anyway, appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Hey, everyone. As you know, Solana is one of the ecosystems I'm the most interested in. I've been incredibly bullish. I love to see the vibrancy of what is happening in the space. Unfortunately, I couldn't make Breakpoint this year, but the stories have been amazing. I heard the talks are incredible, and we're really proud of realvision to give you talks from Solana Breakpoint 2024 in Singapore. I really hope you enjoy them.
Hello, hello. I think it's pretty rare for any crypto event that we have 3 ladies here. We always have this completely unbalanced gender ratio and too many crypto bros. And then so now we finally have 2 beautiful ladies, founders sitting here, standing here, and then 4 steel man argument. Okay, so let's get started. And so the debate today is about the East and West. So Joanna and Cindy, and what about you guys that both give us an introduction and also your definition on what is East and West, right? Is it Russia East or West, right? And then so is it the East and West divided by geography, by the market preferences, or by ideology? Okay, please. Joanna first.
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Joanna Zhen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Soon. Soon is it's an SVM rollup stack, the most efficient SVM rollup stack that brings the top performance of Solana virtual machine to other ecosystem, starting with Ethereum. So the reason I think why I was chosen to argue for the West is because I spent most of my life even though I was born in China, but immigrated to the US very early on and have only worked with Western companies in the past. Actually, this includes even pre-crypto, so only worked in the West for the last 2 decades, including OP, Optimism at Coinbase, and later on at the ZK project called Alio. So to answer your question, though, so you asked about how do we define, right, the West versus East. To me, it's really just a geography definition, but specifically for the Russia, how does that lie, right? I would say by the Russian money being parked in, Dubai, that would be the East. If it's parked in London, that would be the West.
Cool. Cindy?
Hi everyone, I'm Cindy. I'm the co-founder of Drift. This has me as the founder of Drip. I'm not the founder of Drip, it's Drift. We're the leading DeFi platform on Solana with the largest perpetuals exchange and borrow lend as well as spot. Most recently, we just launched prediction markets on top of our integrated pool of collateral. So we've been deep and building in the Solana space since 2021. I am debating on the Eastern crypto does crypto better than the Western crypto because I'm Malaysian Chinese, grew up in Malaysia and spent most of my career in the East as well. Used to work in Korea and Shanghai. And my career in crypto has been since 2017. I was a trader in the past, so largely trading on centralized Asian exchanges, such as OKX, Binance, etc. So I'll be debating on this side today. And in terms of the definition, agree with you there. I think we should define it as Eastern versus Western Hemisphere. We don't need to go into too deep philosophy here today. That's out of scope, but we're excited to get started.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm just standing in between, so I spent my first 18 years in mainland China and moved to US for the past decade, and then my crypto story is also a very interesting East versus West as well, because when I was having my first job at eBay and I was a product manager, and my manager asked me to do research around the auto marketplace. That was 2012. That's when I figured out Silk Road, and then so I asked my Asian parents because because they all want me to buy houses in like San Francisco. Like how I can move the money out of China? Like it's like impossible, right? It's like capital control. Like everyone can only move like 50K. And so I asked my mom, what about we use this Bitcoin thing? So my mom now is not very happy because we should have just held on to those Bitcoin instead of my house in Noe Valley in San Francisco. Okay, so I think probably the next question gonna be for Cindy, right? Because Cindy as a Eastern founder, and then so you are flying in between New York and KL now. So being an investor in Drift, and so I know Drift is also very Western or probably global focused, when it comes to traders and users acquisition. And can you share a little bit more that because so if the assumption is East has more users, and then so why you guys are focused on New York?
Yeah, I think two things, and that's the core of our argument today, is that a lot of the capital markets that are more mature happens to be in the West. And the capital mature markets creates opportunities for 0 to 1 type of innovation, which is why the founders of Solana, founders of Ethereum are largely Western based. But distribution focuses largely on the East. And there are two things that the East does better, which is from the outflow of the initial innovations from the West, the East does distribution, I would say 100 times better, due to two things. One is necessity. We talked about capital controls in Asia, and a lot of these are the reason that I got into crypto in the first place. Growing up in Malaysia, there's a lot of rampant capital controls. Can't even take 10 to 100K out without being flagged. So crypto provides a very natural use case. Specifically, stablecoins like USDT and USDC are very rampant in Asia versus the West. Second is a very flourishing developer ecosystem in Asia. So our team, we're about 30 now. We recently just announced a funding round to expand our team to 50 people. We're quite split between East and West. And we kind of followed the similar structure of a lot of the early innovations of crypto companies, where we started off building our technology with Western developers and Western researchers. But when it came to distribution and growing the technology, all of our most recent hires in the last year were from the East. So Taiwan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore. And this sort of shows the evolution over time. Distribution happens in the East, but innovation largely happens in the West.
Yeah, so I think the question for Joanna then gonna be, and yeah.
Can I challenge that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think going back to the point, why West, right? So superior education and immigration policies, right, allows these Western educated Eastern founders to stay in the US, right? So maybe just to go back to the question, why, Cindy, are you moving, and I know David, your co-founder, moving to New York as opposed to staying in KL, right? Maybe because you thought about, you get better coffee and Wi-Fi in New York.
Maybe that's it. Well, I think that going back to the dichotomy of this question, I think we all agree here that crypto is inherently global, and to focus on East versus West is a new question. But we're here today, so we can talk about it. But I do think that a combination of the best of both is the best way to operate here. For founders that need to fundraise, raise capital, I think being in the US is definitely the right decision. And having stricter regulations in the US also makes it more difficult for a founder to scale their company. So starting out raising capital in the US is great. Capital
Agreed,
markets are awesome, a lot of money there. But as you're going into expansion mode, I think that the real users are in Asia. The real scale of developer ecosystem is in Asia.
Yeah, so for Joanna, and then so now you guys are building, so now you're building a generic developer platform, and then so gonna bring on like more application, and then you were at like Optimism as well. So like the story for Optimism, so I still remember clearly being like an early investor in the Optimism, and they're looking for non-financial like application. Like they cannot, like back in the day, so back in the day there were not many non-financial application in like US, and so they have to come to Asia, Vietnam, and then just look for like gaming company and like GameFi founders, right? And then so then the question is like, if like West have like enough users, and then so why we have seen from like past cycles, and most of these applications like Steppen, like Access Infinity, and then so none of the founders or like markets are ever started in the West.
Well, there are more than 60% of the world population in Asia, so if we don't onboard more users, it's kind of freaking embarrassing, right? Jokes aside, basically, I think it comes down to two things. One is viral marketing, which is something that Asian founders, marketers just do really well. Something to, as you mentioned, right, like Steppen and Axie Infinity all have done this before. And actually with WeChat, it's a Web2 company, right, in China. They basically pioneered this mini games on phone, and now Tang is kind of stealing the idea and make it a thing, right? That I think Western companies are just very much better at building narratives. So basically going back to like why you see more GameFi companies being founded in Asia, I think it kind of goes back to your point actually, Cindy. You said the fact that it's not as advanced economies here, right? So people are touched by crypto in a meaningful way. So what I mean by that is, you guys were all here at the Breakpoint yesterday at the awards-winning the roast, I would call it, right? The one quote I remember is like, we all love Web3 gaming, also known as the Indonesian or Filipino basic income, right? So people really care, right? Going into crypto is life-changing for them.
Yeah, and so like, I think that the clear like division when it comes to like East and West, and then so like that's like centered around stablecoin. And so here, like if you ask like anyone here, like most of the users like on the ground, so like Singapore is not very Southeast Asian. So like we have to admit that like Singapore is more closer to the developed like the West world, right? And then if you go to Philippines, if you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, China, Taiwan, and it's like everything is tethered like USDT, right? And so like there's a very interesting number that if we look at the on-chain if we look at the wallet overlap between USDC and USDT, like guess what the number is? It's 2.8%. Right. So like everyone in US like use Circle, Coinbase, and like USDC, but like the distribution is not just happening here. And I think we have this very interesting offshore and onshore like dichotomy. And so then like the question probably for like both sides is, and like it seems like the stablecoin becoming this like shadow dollar play and like neo banking play, but like the stablecoin distribution is a highly separated, right? And then so probably for like Cindy, because like you guys have to onboard USDC, like USDT, and like all the stablecoin as like collateralized. So how do you see that distribution like being like so sparse out?
Yeah, I think the stablecoin, it's important to talk about what people are using the stablecoins for as well. Like one is trading. People don't want to renominate in fiat once they've entered the crypto ecosystem. So it's very important to build on-chain economies around supporting different stablecoins. So Drift, for example, we have a cross-collateral system, and we enable, I think we're one of the only dexes that do this, we enable multiple sources of stablecoin collateral to be used as collateral. So USDC is actually by and large a larger pool, as is on Solana. USDT is about maybe like 10% of USDC right now. But that tells you the bifurcation of the users. Within Solana ecosystem, I think the users are currently still very much more on the Western side. When you compare it to something like Tron, which is a very clearly Eastern-focused chain, I think the USDT emissions versus USDC are like 100 to 1. Yep. So for us as a DeFi protocol, it's very important to build port and rails around both sides so that Western users and Eastern users can allow for both. But when we look at trading volume, even though the USDT volume is 10% of USDC, the trading volumes generated on the Eastern side are much higher than on the West. So these people are clearly using USDT to do a lot of trades as well, not just as a form of payments.
So, so for Joanna, like given your experience at...
Can I go back to that question and answer that? Yeah, I think it's a really good point, right? Like why do we see very small overlap between USDT, USDC? A lot of this has to do with not just perception, but the reality of the West being more compliant, right? So, the kind of general consensus is that, let's just use Coinbase and Binance example, right? The Coinbase, it's a lot more compliant, and you have to pay 30% tax by trading and reporting tax on top of it. And my DevRel guy would tell me in India, people actually still prefer to use Coinbase, even though Binance is much larger market cap and much larger trading volume there. And the reason is because the local banks will close your accounts if it's linked to Binance crypto, because they think it's, again, could be perception, but also high likelihood of nefarious crypto activities happening. So people would rather just pay that extra money to be on Coinbase just to make sure that their assets not going to be taken away, and that's a big deal because we Asians are very cheap.
Yeah. So, Joanna, like just given your experience at Coinbase before, and so thinking about like the distribution, right? So like now you're building a platform, and then so like are you going to like repurpose like some of the prior distribution like techniques like from like Coinbase, because like Coinbase, so like as you said, it's a highly compliant. But the thing is that when it comes to emerging markets, and so Coinbase so far does not have a relatively good distribution so far. And then so when it comes to soon, and then so have you guys think about the actual user distribution plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So just by maybe starting with my team, right? So I am one of the two only people that's actually sitting in the West. So even though I guess we're by definition a Western company, but we're actually very much deeply rooted in the East. And all my developers are actually Chinese, because they're just as good as the Bay Area developers, and I pay them 1/3 of the salary, and everyone's still happy. So that's a little joke, but it's true. But yeah, just to come back, right? So on the user side, we because we have these people that's on the ground, right? Very much deeply rooted in the local communities, and we know where the developers are, the good developers are especially. We are absolutely focusing on the emerging market side, right? Especially the APAC. So we're on a mission to elevate these emerging market developers, because we believe the next wave of high quality developers is going to come from.
Yep. I think this also leads to the next argument, if West has the tech, right, and why all the developers are Chinese and Eastern developer, and I think for Cindy as well, most of your developers are in KL, right?
Half, mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly,
so if we look at the actual developer onboarding, and I think the thing is, okay, at a very, very high level, most of this frontier crypto publication, indeed coming from the West, because of the brains and the professors are still in US college, whatnot, right? But the actual developer who are making things happen, it seems to be all Eastern developers. So Joanna, do you want to start with that? So have you seen the developer quality, or their different lifestyle or working style? So why you guys eventually land on having most of Eastern developers?
Because the Eastern developers they work hard and they deliver fast, right? So take ourselves example, right? We basically launched the DevNet within 3 months, and testnet we're actually, I guess, alpha for everybody. We're going to announce that next week. And that's the whole process took about 5 months compared to maybe some of the other SVM projects that have been doing research for years and barely delivers. So it have a lot more runway, right, with also less kind of a burn rate when it comes to cost. So I think in general, just being able to tap into the talent pool here is really important. And then we, going back to my point, right, we were all about getting the developers onboarded in this part of the region. And the other thing I want to actually give Cindy a shout out. I think, Drift, right? These are the great examples, like what inspired us about why we wanted to, we wanted to onboard these next wave of high quality dApps that can actually track users from both West and East.
Yeah, I think to wrap up, a lot of the users are in the East. A lot of the innovation happens in the West. But when you look at Binance with 200 million wallets, when you look at Korea, 1 in 5 Koreans have a centralized exchange account versus just 70 mil in Coinbase, right? Like, a lot of the speculation, payments, and necessity for crypto happens in the East, alongside the ease and accessibility of developers here. But combining that with the innovation and the capital markets of the West is where we want to be. And I think both our companies are positioned in that way.
Joanna, I want to give us like closing remarks.
Yeah, the closing thought is it doesn't matter if it's East versus West. That division is all very arbitrary, right? We're in crypto for a reason. We're here for decentralization, and that transcends borders. And at the end of the day, we're here as unifiers, not dividers, right? We're all here, coming from the West and East into Breakpoint. Maybe we don't win the Lambo or even spot one of the 3 Lambos that Cindy fought over, but we're all here for fun.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to beautiful ladies. And then so I hope that we crypto people can be completely meta-sovereign, apolitical. And because I think after COVID, there's only one consensus that can be easily generated. It's we all deserve better government. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. Look, if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and check out the video here on the right-hand side. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you're ready for more, go to realvision.com/join. I'll see you there.